Hey guys, Kev here, and I have a video slash review, I don't know if it's a review, overview to do for you on these two pieces right here. So you'll notice they are basically the same, just different colors, different materials. This is the Axis Micro. Whoops. I believe it's, okay. I'm just throwing stuff around. I believe it's branded under FocusWorks, if I got that right. The FocusWorks Axis Micro. And apparently, this was a product that was made by a different shop. I don't know the name of it. And then the guy at FocusWorks, I believe his name is Jordy, he kind of bought the rights to it, or bought the design, I'm not sure, and he now makes them. This one right here was made in June of 2022. So this is actually a new piece. This I don't have a date on. They didn't provide a COA. I bought these secondary from a dude in the UK. And I initially saw that he posted both, and I didn't know what to do. I had heard a lot of things about this being an amazing spinner from a lot of different people. And I had actually, I don't know if I did a video on it, but I had actually bought the mini version of this. So the naming convention is very dumb. I gotta, if you're watching, whoever, Jordy, I guess, who it actually turns out, if I'm getting my information right, Jordy was actually the table across from us at Blade Show in Atlanta. So I have a knife company, Devo Knives, and we were actually right across from FocusWorks in Atlanta, which is kind of funny. I went over there at one point. I played with the top he had, I think. I asked a couple questions, was a very nice guy, and I believe his wife was there as well. Very nice people. And later on, I went over and I saw this really cool razor blade design, sort of X-Acto knife design, and I wanted to buy one, and Urban EDC Supply had literally just bought all of them. I just remember that vividly. And Colin, my partner on Devo Knives, he actually went over and bought a top. So I just think it's kind of ironic that now I'm like chasing spinners that I didn't even care about. I didn't care about spinners in June. And now I was trying to hunt down a product this guy made. I just think that's funny. But anyway, this is the Axis Micro, but then there's a mini version of it, and it's called the Axis Micro Mini, which kind of makes no sense, right? Because a micro would be smaller than a mini in my eyes, but anyway, it's all semantics, but it gets confusing. You're like, wait, is that, somebody will tell you like, hey, there's a micro up for sale, and you're like, is it the mini or the micro? Or is it the, it's just like, So I was able to get my hands on a Tungsten Micro Mini, which is very small compared to this. This is sort of a normal sized spinner. That's kind of a stupid statement. Let me grab something. So this is the Horizon from Cap, okay? They're the same, so let's just look at one for now. That's the Horizon from Cap. This is the Mini Collision from Cap, which I believe is the same size as the Horizon, yeah. So basically the same size. They're basically all the same size in terms of, you know, the longest point kind of situation. So if that helps you at all, I haven't spun this in a minute. Oh, that's so good. I've been caught up on my Nest, and I haven't spun this either. So good. So good. I don't think there's really anything. I mean, here's a nano milk lid. Here's a wrapped V2 from FocusWorks. I'm doing the fab thing now. I'm just going to pull out my whole collection. This is the Shuffle from Loudy. And then last, I'll do a donut. Here's a ACEDC donut, okay? And then, all right. I got to do the CP3 and the CP3. There it is. Okay, hopefully that helps you guys. Sorry. I always cracked up every time when I first got into the fidget stuff, I obviously watched Fab Blades, because he's kind of like, he was the like only dude who did fidget content. And I always crack up because he pulls out like 10 fucking items, like it just keeps going and going, and it's just funny. Anyway, so this is the regular size. The mini is like absolutely tiny. It's a 5th pocket spinner. And even in tungsten, it wasn't that heavy, but it wasn't very satisfying to me. I didn't enjoy it all that much. And I gotta say, so far I'm not like blown away with this either. But this is the full size, and this guy in the UK posted them up. Somebody in the FPAG group told me about it, and I went and found the post. And I was like, man, do I buy the tungsten or the Zirc? And I was going back and forth. And then my buddy Sean Duma, shout out to Sean. He's like, hey, I got 2 of the tungsten ones. So why don't you get the Zirc? Because he wanted the Zirc one. He's like, why don't you get the Zirc one? And if you don't like it, then I'll trade you a tungsten one. And I was like, all right. So I bought the Zirc one, right? And this is kind of the one I wanted. I don't know why. It has tungsten weights, but otherwise is Zirc. And I just, for some reason, thought that might be better, because what I don't like about certain spinners is, like, I love tungsten, right? I'm definitely a tungsten fanboy with spinners, but I don't like concentrated tungsten. Like when it's a try, especially, it tends to happen where it just feels like a blob of tungsten. And it's not as enjoyable to flick and to spin and everything, because it's not like the weight is out on the wings. And that's what I like about the Horizon, right? The Horizon has here to show you. This is the Mega Horizon. I have a Mega too. The weight is on the outside, and then if you put a good button on it that's not tungsten, I don't know why tungsten spinners come with tungsten buttons. It's kind of stupid. But anyway, you're kind of putting the weight to the outside, so it feels really awesome in the hand to have it whipping around. This thing sounds amazing. Look, it looks like a ghost. Isn't it? Oh, it's amazing. It just feels amazing to have that weight out on the ends like that. And tries don't really do that. The weight's concentrated because there's a lot of meat around here, right? So I just thought maybe this would be better because it's going to be lighter and then have the tungsten balls. Now, the downside is the tungsten it's not enough tungsten to really give it good weight, but it is fantastic. I got to say, I really like this Zirc one with the tungsten weights. Now, Sean, so he said that, and then I was like, all right, so I bought the Zirc one, but then I got like antsy for some reason. And I know I didn't buy the Zirc one. I actually bought the tungsten one. I was gonna buy it, but then I was like, I think I would want the tungsten. So instead of getting it and then like trading it or whatever, I was like, I'll just buy the one I want, right? And then I was like, Sean, this is available if you want to get the Zirc. But he wasn't answering. I think he was like, out, like doing normal people things. And so like a couple hours or a day went by, I forget. And I hit the guy back up and I was like, you know what? I'll just take the Zirc one too. And I bought it, and I figured I would end up just, selling it to Sean, or he would pay me for it or whatever. So that's what happened. I told him about it, and then he sent me the money. So this is technically Sean's, even though I really like it. So I'm like tempted to try to find a way to buy it off him, but I don't know. I also like this one. But now I'm in that conundrum, right? Because he has 2 of these, so he doesn't need this one. But I think what I need is a cap C bearing and buttons for this. Because I think what I like about this is I put type A bearings in both of these from Cap. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, sorry. Kinetic Asia Pacific sells bearings you can buy, and they make your spinner better, essentially. They're full ceramics. That's up to you what you like. But these came with steel, I believe. This one might have had a hybrid. This is a retention bearing. So this spinner actually uses a tool. It's pretty cool. Instead of having to buy a bearing tool that you've seen me do this in videos where you spin it down and it basically pushes the bearing out, and then you have to squeeze another bearing in there. It's press fit essentially, and you like Loctite it in, right? This is another way to do it. It's called a retention bearing, and basically you have this tool. Now, I don't know if they all have the same tool or whatever, but basically there's a threaded piece that goes on top of the bearing and holds it in place. I don't know if there's downsides to it versus press fit. The only thing I can think of is, you know, you have to get specialized buttons. They have to be made specifically to fit, you know, that retention, whatever. So you can push this out and now it pops right out. It's so much easier. It's really nice. Like, you don't have to press them out. You don't have to use Loctite. You just, you know, thread your guy back in and you're good to go. So I really like this method. I'm trying to figure out why more people don't do it, or, you know, I guess this is the downside. You have to have these specialized buttons. So I can't just throw on any buttons I want. Unless you can, actually, but you need shims. So you need brass shims and you need posts. So basically you could take these buttons. You could take these buttons and put shims on them, which I believe I have. Let's see if I have it in here. Yep. Which they say shim, they're basically washers. You just take those and you put them around, right? And then you also have to have a longer post. So you have to remove this, I guess, and put a longer one in. And that way it gives you enough space to get all the way through that area. And that's essentially how you can use regular buttons on a retention bearing spinner, or at least on this one. Let me just get this back on. There we go. So you can do it. It just requires extra work, which kind of sucks, you know. But anyway, that's how you take the buttons out. Now, I did put type A bearings in from Cap, and these buttons, they feel a little bit looser now. There's a little more jiggle than there was with the hybrid bearing. This one's got a lot more wiggle in the button. So I'm hoping that once I get the shims and get everything set up, it's going to be a little bit tighter, because I don't like button play, even though it's not, you know, it's not something people really care about, but I don't love it. But anyway, I put the bearings in. This one just sounds better. I mean, that doesn't, I don't know what that might be a fucked up bearing, honestly. But it sounds cool to me. This one has almost no sound. Same bearing. So I've tried swapping the buttons. So you can actually take those off and take these off. This is the benefit of having two of the same thing. And then you could put these buttons on this one. So now you have Zirc, and I assume, is it stainless around the outside? Yeah, I think. And stainless buttons on the tungsten spinner, which makes sense to me because it's lighter. You want lighter buttons on your heavier spinner. That's just how I feel anyway. And now, of course, the air conditioner kicked in. To me, it doesn't sound any different. Doesn't sound any different. Still got the wiggle. And then this one, you're taking a lighter, spinner and putting a heavier button on it, which that works too, honestly. You just don't want heavy on heavy. I just don't like that. Still sounds better. Not as good as it did, but better. And I don't know. I kind of like this Zirc spinner with the tungsten balls. I just feel like it spins quicker, faster. I don't know. It just... But I do like this one. It does have more weight. I can flick it better. like that. You can rip it, but I think what I'm not loving about the Axis Micro, sorry man, I can't remember the freaking names, is it almost feels like I can't get a strong rip on it. Like I can do this, and it almost feels like that is spinning as fast as it'll ever spin. Like doing a wrist flick with a rip, I just don't feel like I'm adding more speed to the mix. And maybe it's just because I don't have the cap C bearing and the nice buttons on yet. You know, but like when I do this with the Mega, that's satisfying. But when I give it a whip and a rip, it's amazing. You can sense the difference of how hard you ripped it. And I feel like I just don't get that with this. And maybe that's just a tri-spinner thing. I don't know. I have to figure that out. But I'm going to wait till I get the cap C bearings. And then I'm going to I'm going to wait until I get the custom buttons. And I'm going to do all that. And I'm going to pimp my ride. And then once I pimp my ride out, pimp my Axis Micro out, I will kind of do a follow-up and let you guys know. Wow, this thing just felt like it was twirling all over the place. I'll do a follow-up and let you guys know if it's something I'm going to keep around. Because I might just sell it if I don't end up getting the fizzy wizzies from it after that. I'm just going to pass it along, right? And again, this one is going to go off to Sean. I'll send it off to him. I have some stuff coming from Cap, and he has some stuff in there. And once I get all that, I will send this off with that stuff. But I don't know. I think as of right now, I go back and forth. I see the potential of this one, but I almost like this Zirc one better. You know, and that just kind of shit just happens sometimes. I think when it comes to tri-spinners, I'm just not as big of a tungsten guy because the weight doesn't get spread to the wings. That's kind of the moral of the story here, you know. It's more centralized weight, which to me isn't as satisfying. Like ripping it, again, you don't really get the sensation. And you also can't really carry it. Like, I could carry this. I could put this in my bag and carry it because it doesn't weigh a ton. You know what I mean? So there's just an added benefit to the Zirc one. So yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with these. That's kind of a review of the Axis Micro from FocusWorks. And I think I'll do an update once I get them pimped out. But that's one thing I gotta say I don't love about spinners is you basically have to pimp out every spinner you get. Like if you buy a spinner stock, it never is as good as it could be. You have to get bearings and you have to get buttons. You know, it's kind of like with knives where I swap to skiff bearings a lot. But like the whole knife doesn't need a makeover. Like it kind of sucks that with spinners you're just spending all this money on buttons and bearings and shit. Because most spinners are not even close to how good they can be. Like when I got this with the tungsten buttons and the stock steel bearing, I literally thought it was trash. I thought this was a trash spinner. Then I put a C bearing in and just slapped these Zirc buttons on, and all of a sudden it was the coolest spinner in the game. You know, and I'm waiting on custom superconductor buttons, and then it's going to be, you know, game over. But like, it just bothers me that that's the case. And I've talked to some of these makers, and I've been like, hey, could you just put good bearings in? Could you just like put better buttons on that have a little more tolerance, or, you know, a different material or something? And, you know, the answer basically was no, because some of them sell bearings and some of them sell buttons. So they're going to make more money if they sell you shitty buttons and bearings and then you buy them off them. instead of just charging a little bit more and putting it into the stock item. So, I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that whole thing. This one can be a little much, a little obnoxious, but it's amazing. Can't wait to pimp that one out. So, there it is. That's the sort of overview on the Axis Micro. I know I didn't really get anywhere here, guys. I'm still kind of debating. I've only had them for a couple days. I gotta say, the flat button, they're actually different. These buttons have a dish on them. They concave a little bit, I think is the right word. And these are flat. And the flat ones suck. I mean, it is so hard to, like, keep your, you know what I mean? Like, keep it flat on your finger like that. You can do it, but this, it's so much easier. I can do it on an angle, you know, because it's got that little bit of give to it. My finger sits in it a little bit. But maybe that's why there's less sound. I don't know. All right. I love you guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you're a spinner person, if you're into this model specifically, is there one you like better than the other? Are you a Zirc guy with tungsten balls? Are you a tungsten guy, all tungsten? Do you recommend any kind of setup that I'm missing here? I have NJT buttons coming for this. Either I'm going to put the Worry Stone Zircu tie or the crystallized tie on it. And then I'll drop a Cap C in as soon as that package shows up. So, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, love you guys. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. And I will catch you later.